Hey YouTube, so it's finally time to test our $400 PC in games. So we are going to game at both 1080p and 1440. The intention is to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare at 1080p, as that's more demanding both on the CPU and the GPU. So we'll play that at 1080p and see what kind of frames we see there, and then we'll switch over to the 1440p monitor and see what kind of frames we get in Fortnite. So just to start off with the base system overview, so we have our GTX 1050 sitting at 1366 megahertz, just out of the box, boost clocks, and 43C at idle. And then if we go over to our CPU, we have an i5 4590, and we're sitting at 33 degrees C at idle, and that'll maybe get up to 50-60 degrees C in game. And we are boosting to right around 3.6 gigahertz for the most part steadily, and we should see that temp or that base clock in game. We also have our Kingston SSD, which is what I have the game downloaded on. And that's pretty much it. So quick system overview. We also have 16 gigs of 1600 megahertz DDR3 memory. So we'll get into game. I'll start up Call of Duty and we'll see what kind of performance we see at 1080p. Time to test Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer at 1080p. So as you can see, sitting in the menu, we're getting right around 43 FPS, 65C on the GPU at 100% utilization, and 44C on the CPU, sitting around 90% utilization, 3.5 gigahertz on the CPU. So if we go into our options really quick, just to show our graphics settings, we're sitting at 1920 by 1080, 60 FPS. And pretty much low to normal settings on pretty much everything in terms of graphics. We also have SMAA 1X anti-aliasing turned on, but for the most part, pretty low settings.
The enemy took the hard point. Hard point. Capture and defend the hard
So
point.
now that we're actually in
Moves
game,
you follow.
you can see 47, 48 FPS. Depending on the scene, definitely up to 50 FPS as
Friendly
well.
UAV overhead.
So you might even see some 60 FPS spikes.
Enemy UAV overhead.
So it's definitely not
Stand by to
terrible.
move.
It's definitely playable.
Go. Get to the next one. Enemy UAV overhead. The enemy took the hard point.
These high
Enemy personal
action
radar in the air.
scenes we're getting around 50 FPS.
Get it together. This ain't over yet. Hardpoint contested. Enemy UAV overhead. Hardpoint contested. Get ready. We're about to move. We've taken the hardpoint. Go. Get to the next one. Taking the hardpoint. Enemy cruise missile incoming.
So there's the end of the game.
Day's done. You're not.
But you can see
On your
pretty much
feet,
average is
soldier.
around 50 FPS with spikes up to 60 FPS and dips around 40. But temps were really good on the GPU 70C maxed out, and CPU temps maxed out were 45 degrees C. So really good temps there, and really no issues in terms of gameplay. 40-50 FPS is plenty to play at 1080p. Of course, at the settings that we're playing at, textures, the scene's fantastic. But overall, pretty good experience at 1080p 1080p in Call of Duty. So now we'll move on to 1440p and test out Fortnite. Now we have Fortnite loaded up at 1440p. So we're playing on our Dell S2719 DGF, something like that monitor. You can see a review on that monitor right up here. And then just to go over our graphic settings, let's see. So we have full screen enabled, 2560 by 1440, unlimited frame rate just to see what kind of FPS we might see. The monitor itself is 144 FPS, but we're probably not going to hit that mark. And then we have epic view distance and then medium to low on the remaining settings. This is what I would play at even on my 8700K RTX 2060 build, but with our GTX 1050 and our i5 4590, try to keep the settings a little bit lower to get the best gameplay. So let's get a game loaded up and see exactly what kind of FPS we see in game. But let's jump out, see how our performance looks on the actual ground. And GPU sitting at 66C, 67% utilization, and our CPU at 56C, or 56, 60% utilization and 40C. So our CPU cooler is doing really, really well to keep our i5 nice and cool, even at high utilization. So this is very playable, I must say, at 1440. And we're really maintaining 60 FPS pretty nicely. And limiting it to 60 FPS keeps our utilization nice and low, so no issues there. I will say there is some screen tearing for sure, and that's probably due to our limitation in VRAM. We only have 2 gigs of VRAM on this card. But overall, really good experience at 1440p. Like I said again, 1080p, you'll see plenty of frames, probably well over 100 FPS. And I'm gonna turn off the frame rate limiter at 60 FPS and see what kind of max frames we get at 1440p. So now maxing it out, we're sitting at right around, we can almost hit 144 FPS. So extremely quick and responsive. That even cut out a lot of the screen tearing that was going on. So a GTX 1050 and an i5 4590 can play Fortnite at 1440p and 144 FPS. That is pretty insane, if I don't say so myself. Nice. And now that we're hitting this higher frame rate, of course, utilization has gone up. We still have temps, so our GPU is pretty steady at 70 degrees C. So, not the greatest in-game action from myself, but the computer is performing really, really well, both at 1440p and at 1080. So again, just to give you guys a quick recap, 1080p inside of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, we were sitting right at around 60 FPS, dips around 40 to 50 FPS, but still very playable. And then if you go to a less graphics heavy game like Fortnite, you can easily experience 120 to 140 FPS at 1440p, which is really, really awesome for a nice, cheap $375 computer. So if you guys haven't seen the actual build, be sure to check that out. Any comments, any questions, leave those below. Give it a thumbs up if you liked the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel.